Hey guys, what is up? It is Bibs07 here again, and welcome to another RuneScape 3 vlog here today. In this video, I'm going to be doing my last little summary video for the Runefest live streams that I watched today. If you missed the videos earlier, I did one early in the day on the myths and lore live or segment of the live stream, and then I did one just recently, of course, on the keynote reveals and everything like that. So if you would like to see my thoughts and opinions on those other items, go ahead and check out those videos as well. But this one is going to mainly be about the annual survey results, which was a little segment on the live or on the side stream that I thought was pretty interesting and figured I would make a little video to give my thoughts on. And I also did make a video of myself filling out this whole survey, which might have not gotten out to everybody because it didn't get as many views as a typical video, or maybe people just weren't interested in it. I don't really know. But either way, if you missed that and want to see what I thought about the various things that are on the survey itself, you guys can check that out on my channel as well. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm just going to be doing Herblore here on my hardcore during this video. Nothing really to watch on the screen, just to be discussing my thoughts. But first thing I want to say before even talking about any of the results is whoever designed these slides for these results is an absolute moron. Whoever picked the colors for the graphs, the colors are horrible. Like some of the worst color choice I've ever seen in a bar graph in my life. Like there's probably a single shade of difference in some of the colors on the lighter side, and it just was almost impossible to really distinguish between some of the bars. And if you really wanted to figure out what you were looking at on the graphs, you'd have to like really, look hard and compare to the legend like really often and try and remember everything. Like a bar graph should be easy to read at a glance, and I don't know, it was just the color choices were horrible, so that kind of ruined a couple of the result slides in my opinion. But anyways, I'm just gonna go over the main like highlights I got from it as like kind of their interpretation of the results and how it might affect things going forward. So first of all, in terms of the question that was regarding how often you want to see various combat content released, there was quite a few options on there, ranging from Slayer to bosses. By far the least popular on there was hard multiplayer bosses, and I fall in the same boat there. I do not really like group bosses a whole lot, especially not 7 or higher group sizes. I think 7 is not the right size for a RuneScape group boss. 10 is obviously way too many. In my opinion, the perfect size of a group for bossing is from 3 to 5. And any bigger than that, I'm not a fan of at all. But that's kind of been where they've been at for group bosses for a while. So hopefully they move away from that, but as they can see from this survey, people don't like the state of hard multiplayer bosses right now. And by far the most popular were hard solo bosses. So that's pretty much my stance as well. And I'm glad to see that it was mirrored by the community. Slayer was also pretty popular up there, but those are updates they can more realistically release often, so it's not really that much of a surprise to see it as a high rated one. But yeah, as far as the question that they asked about changing the combat meta frequently by like making different weapons strong at different times, pretty much everybody said that that was very unappealing. Thank God. That sounded horrible. I would never want to see the meta be forcefully messed with by Jagex by, like, I don't even know how they would do it, like change the stats of certain items or give certain items special effects for some reason. Like, just sounded horrible. Really glad to see that that one didn't make it through. As far as the updates themselves go, this was just a section on various updates and how people would think of them. For some reason, a lot of people voted up on the boss hub idea that they had, and I thought the idea wasn't too bad, but I just figured like nobody would really use it as far as the design went, that they had in the survey that they presented. It just seemed like another thing that they would try to make and have it be something that revived PVM or helped get people into PVM at least, but then nobody would really use it. That was my opinion. But yeah, people voted that up for some reason. Hostilius the Aerocrat, or whatever his title is, unfortunately didn't really make it. It was pretty low, which sucks because the boss sounds really cool. Unfortunately, the reason I think it was pretty low is because it was revealed like either 1 or 2 Runefests ago, and nobody really knows much about it, and they didn't provide much detail, so you'd only really have known and voted for it if you were remembering back then. So they kind of did it a disservice on this survey, which is unfortunate because it sounded like a cool boss idea. And then most of the remaster / elite dungeon stuff was pretty middle of the pack, didn't really have a strong votes for or against it. But the remasters in general seem to be a positive. People seem to be positive about the idea of doing remasters for a lot of content, which I agree with. I think it could definitely be a good thing, and we've seen that they're already going to be doing, in my opinion, what'll be one of the better ones, and that is remastering Miscellanea, or Managing Your Kingdom. They're doing that next year already. That was revealed in the live stream for the keynote. So hopefully they'll start off strong with the first remaster, and I'm looking forward to what else they pick up in the future. For the minimum number of quests per year, people voted pretty as you'd expect. The most popular options were 6, 3, or 12, and I would say 6 is probably the most reasonable one. Like that, at 1 quest every 2 months seems like it would be a reasonable thing to ask for, especially if they don't try and make every quest a super long epic with new models and new environments and everything. They definitely should be able to get one out every 2 months. So hopefully they will start making more quests, as I really do enjoy them generally. Another thing that they said that they were surprised by and that they need to change their stance on is how long quests should take you to complete. And these answers were most popular in ascending order. So it went 30 minutes was the lowest they gave you, then 60, 90, 120, and that was the order of their popularity in the votes. And yeah, I agree with that. Hopefully they take that into account, as I think Mod Osborne said specifically that they have a hard time getting out of the mindset of making every quest a big epic thing, and that's a major key for getting more quests out. So hopefully they can manage to do that in the future. And people also said in their votes that it wasn't super important for quests to have new stuff like models and environments, and I agree with that. So hopefully that again makes it easier. As far as the question about how important story is in non-quest updates like skills and stuff, it was actually pretty much middle of the road. I wasn't expecting that as many people to vote that up as they did. I didn't really see the huge purpose around non-quest updates having a lot of story behind it, but I mean, it doesn't hurt, and I assume it probably wouldn't take that much time away from the actual development to add a little bit of story to it. So I'm all for it, and it's pretty cool to see that people did vote it up. I don't think I did personally because I didn't see the point of it, but I'm not necessarily against it either. By the way, for all these popularity ratings, like they showed on screen a percentage of people who voted either a 4 or a 5 for the votes. Pretty much that's how they measured a positive rating, was a 4 or a 5, and they put the percentages of people who voted that up on the screen, and that was how they were ranked. I don't think I mentioned that. For quests, the most popular quest lines they had for the top 3 were Desert Treasure 2, Sentiston 2, and Dragon Slayer 2. So people want to see a lot of sequels, I guess. And we're getting Sentiston 2 next year with the City of Sentiston quest. So looks like they were already on the right track for this. Obviously, the keynote doesn't really address these results because they came out at the end of last month. But it's good to see that their vision is sort of aligned with what people are wanting to see. Also up there were the Skill Cape quest, the Origins of Zeros, the White Knight finale, and the Elf storyline. One thing that I was very low that I was kind of sad about was the Araxor quest. I thought that sounded pretty cool from what they put on the survey, but that was actually second to last on the quest list. And last place was the Death of the Wise Old Man, which I definitely agree with. We wouldn't want to see him, kick the bucket. He's one of the most iconic characters, but yeah, that was definitely one of the things that they had on there, but yeah, glad to see people didn't want it. And then they had a question on there that I thought was hilarious. Like, I thought it was ridiculous that they even asked it, but based on the results, maybe that's not the case. The question was, are you aware of the current storyline going on with Carapac, etc., that was kind of tied into the Breaking the Storm event and Anachronia? And apparently only slightly more than 50% of the players were aware of the ongoing storyline. And I don't know if people are really that stupid or if they're just like memeing or something. Like, I spacebar through pretty much everything. I'm still perfectly aware of the storyline and everything. I don't know. That just shocked me. Like, that 45%-ish of people would say that they're not aware of it. But moving on from that, most people did say they were interested in it. And, I guess that's good, at least, that people like how it's kind of tying into updates. And most people said yes, that updates that come out should generally be tied into the ongoing story where possible, which I guess I can agree with. I just feel like they're doing enough of that as it stands currently. One thing that I thought was funny on they had two sections for quests. The first section that I just went through was the quest they thought would be the most popular, and then this section is the quest that they didn't think would be as popular. And they were shocked that Violet is Blue 2 was the least popular quest idea, but I certainly agree with that, because I think it's a great standalone little novice quest. I just don't see the need for a sequel, and it seems like a lot of people agreed with that, and they were just shocked by that for some reason. Unfortunately, in this quest section, the Barrows Brothers quest was ranked number 1, which I just don't really want to see. I don't know. I don't get the appeal of those quests with the Barrows Brothers in them, but that's just my opinion. Then they had the Menaphos finale was ranked 2nd. The Return of King Valence in Falador was ranked 3rd. Riders of the Apocalypse 4th, and One of a Kind 2 was 5th. Really strangely, in my opinion, the vampire storyline was quite low. I think that is 7th on that list of 10 or 12. I don't know how many were actually on there, but unfortunately, yeah, that was really low on there. And the vampire storyline is one of my favorites, but unfortunately, they were not anywhere high in the rankings. And notably, none of those quests that I just mentioned were in the top 25 updates overall that they kind of had compiled through all the sections, which is not great for questing. But notably absent from the quest sections was Elemental Workshop 5, which I really, really, really want to see. So hopefully they bring that back to at least to the surveys in some point in the future. But I don't know. For some reason, people just vote it down, and I love that quest chain. I would love to see that continued. Moving on now to the remasters section. The ones that people had voted most highly were Karamja and Varrock, which I agree with. And then number 3 was the Dark Side of Zenaris, which in my opinion sounds like one of the coolest ones on this whole list. I really hope they do something with that. That just sounded like just an amazing idea. Just sounds great. Then after that was Ardi, and then Cam Dozal. I thought Cam Dozal sounded cool. The Dwarven City. Farin 3 Returns was on there. I guess that would have something to do with the Wilderness. Castle Wars was pretty low. And then the bottom 3 for these were the Pet Battler, the Auto Chess, and the Card and Collection thing. Those were like the bottom 3 updates of the whole survey, I think. They were just in the dumpster. So that was kind of what I expected. Then they had that little section on themed weekends, which I kind of hated, and it was pretty funny because Maud Osborne said like a lot of people just voted no for all of them. They're just like, stop it with the weekends, and that is like exactly how I thought when I was taking that bit of the survey. So hopefully they don't really, I don't know, people were pretty split on them. Like there were probably people who are just like greedy and only care about it from their own, from the perspective of their own gain, that they just want to, double drops, I could get more drops. Like, I don't know, I can't see how that's a good thing to have in the game, and I don't know. I just hate the weekends, so that was that. People were kind of split, but a lot of people were like all the way no or all the way yes, which is not a good thing in my opinion. For the skilling section, there was pretty much an even curve of, the things were all highly appealing as their most popular option, but notably there were 4 things that I think that were in this section. New skills, reworks, new training methods for skills, and 120s. Four things, and each of those had its most popular option be very interested, or like the best one. But for skills going to 120, there was a big spike, and it was easily the highest in the section for like not interested at all, like the worst section. So that was interesting. There's a lot of people who really don't want new 120 skills. I personally am pretty okay with them, especially, I mean, the new farming and herblore sound so cool. So as long as they keep up with such great designs and implement them well, I'm perfectly fine with more 120 skills coming in, especially for skills like farming and herblore, which are kind of already full from 1 to 99. Like there's not much more they can add to them in that level range. It just makes sense for those to be the ones that they pick out to go to 120. So I definitely am for that. And then the things that were, in order, the things that were most positive, new skills was number 1, reworks number 2, new training methods number 3, and then 120s was the lowest, but they were all still pretty high on the positivity. Then for raising the cap slowly to 120, like 5 or 6 levels at a time that they had on there, was surprisingly positive, which I don't understand. I wouldn't really like that. I'd rather just have it be all or nothing. That's just my opinion on it, but surprisingly that was pretty positive from most people's perspective, which I wouldn't have expected. Then they had that section on which 3 skills you would most likely want to rework. Number 1 was construction, 2 was agility, 3 was rune crafting, 4 was summoning, and 5 was woodcutting. Notably, farming doesn't even appear in the top 15 here, and the 15th place was none at all, which was kind of interesting. Herblore does show up, but it's only all the way down at the 12th place on the list, so interesting. But those are obviously, they're just going to 120. They're not actually getting a rework, so I guess it makes sense. It's kind of a difference there. But you'd assume a lot of the time, well, I guess mining and smithing didn't do it, but that was like a full-scale rework. So I don't know if they're talking on that scale or what, but personally, I would like to see construction, agility, and then like woodcutting, fletching. Those are my top 3, and those are pretty close to things that people had on there. But yeah, people would like to see the free-to-play cap increase to level 30, which, I mean, I can't see why you wouldn't want that. Like, just do it and make more people might get into the game that way. Moving on now to the overall skilling updates and their rankings. The most popular ones were the ranged and magics smithing reworks to kind of make their armor more obtainable through, different skills. And those were 75%. I have no idea why people voted those up. I don't know. I don't really see the appeal for those personally, but I guess people really, really do. But I just don't understand how those would be doable without being a full skill rework, which would require a lot more than just changing how the armors are made and stuff. But yeah, that one was really popular, which kind of surprised me. The second most popular skilling update was cities as areas to be rebuilt, which was 70%. The skilling updates had some pretty high ratings. Skilling dungeons was number 3. Con to 120 and rework was number 4. Summoning to 120 and rework was number 5. Skilling abilities, unfortunately, was all the way down at number 6, which I was kind of sad about because that sounded really cool in my opinion. I would love to see some skilling abilities added to the game. And a new skilling boss was similarly ranked down there. And I am so shocked by this one. Safe Cracking 2 with the big heists and stuff was ranked all the way down at last place for the skilling updates, which just shocked me completely. Like, it sounded so cool. That was what Safe Cracking sounded like it was going to be when it first came out, but it wasn't, and I would have loved to have seen it come out, but for some reason people didn't like it. I don't know, it sounded awesome to me. Other than that, for other updates that were just kind of miscellaneous ones, this was where all the player-owned crap was, but it wasn't really all player-owned stuff. Golden Clue Scrolls was number 3, which is great for me. They even said on the stream that there was people who really want it to happen in Jagex anyways, and now it's pretty much definitely going to happen. So I'm really looking forward to Golden Clue Scrolls. And then Miscellanea Remastered was number 4 on that list, which is good because that's already coming, so people are at least receptive to it, and it is happening, so that's good. Unfortunately, Dungeons as Drops, which would have been, as far as I could tell, pretty much maps, like maps from PoE, was all the way down at number 9 with only 61% rating it 4 or 5. So that was kind of disappointing for me because I thought it would have been really cool to have some system like that in the game, but it doesn't look like people really understand how it would work yet. Like if you didn't play PoE and you didn't have that idea of maps in your head, I could see why it wouldn't be appealing. So hopefully they will revisit that at some point. And that's pretty much everything they went over for the survey results. In general, most of the stuff was what I would have expected, although there were a couple things that, I did obviously point them out pretty explicitly that kind of surprised me with how people voted on it. But I really like to see these results and just see how the community as a whole kind of is thinking for various things. A lot of the time it does align with how I tend to vote, but there are obviously a couple places that I pointed out where we had some pretty divergent views, but we'll have to see how they end up interpreting these results and taking them on into the future. Obviously, we won't really see much action from these results for quite a while because we have pretty much a lot of next year's updates, or major updates at least, that were announced at the keynote. So we'll probably not see a lot of this stuff, but at least they take it into account and have it for planning in the future. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for this video though, you guys. Just wanted to go over those survey results, give my thoughts on the various things that they discussed, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, check out my other Runefest discussions on my channel, and I'll have my normal hardcore Iron Man episode out tomorrow, and I've got quite a bit of progress done in the past week, so looking forward to releasing that episode, as we are doing pretty good on our Slayer, as well as gotten quite a few good skilling level ups. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video tomorrow. Peace out.